I am also a tax strategist, and I've been in the finance industry for over 18 years. As a solopreneur, right, or someone who's an entrepreneur. Hello, Five Family. Welcome to another edition of the Tax Takeover. I'm super excited about this episode because I have another lovely guest, right? So, for the month of October, we are going to be celebrating financial planning, and financial planning has various areas that have to be covered so that you can take a comprehensive approach to financial planning. All right. So, again, we have another guest, and she is also a subject matter expert in her own field. But before we introduce her, I want to introduce myself for those who are joining for the first time. My name is Samara Andrews. I am the host of the Tax Takeover. I'm also an enrolled agent with the Internal Revenue Service. So, what that means is that we have an in depth understanding of the tax code, and we leverage our knowledge so that you can save more of your hard earned money, right? So we leverage our knowledge so that we can create tax strategies just for you entrepreneurs, you taxpayers. We create strategies to make sure you keep more of your money in your pocket, right? That's what the tax takeover is all about. We even have a model, right? So that the wealthy don't start tax planning once they become wealthy, but rather use tax planning as a method to grow their wealth. So again, that's what the tax takeover is all about. So I am glad you are joining. If you want to learn how to keep your money in your pocket, you are in the right place, right? So without further ado, I definitely want to bring on our guest. She is an insurance expert, I should say. She calls herself the insurance auntie, y'all. So please make sure that you are following her. After the show, she'll definitely share how to get in contact with her for sure. But I definitely had the pleasure of meeting Tracy through a networking group we were both members of. And just loved her vibe, loved that she calls herself the insurance auntie. And she's very knowledgeable in her field. So without further ado, let's bring on Tracy Thompson with the Tracy Thompson Agency. How are you?
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing today, Tracy?
I am good, and yourself?
I'm great. I'm great. Are you excited about our conversation tonight?
Yes, I love to talk about business and life insurance, and we'll be doing both of those today. So that is a great topic for everyone.
Absolutely. So before we jump into it, do you mind introducing yourself to the Five Family?
Not at all. Hello, Five Family. I am Tracy, affectionately known as the Insurance Auntie. I am located in Stockbridge, Georgia, Valdosta, Georgia. I have been an insurance risk advisor for almost 12 years now, so I'm very confident in the information I'm going to share with you today. Feel free to reach out to me. You can look me up on Facebook under the Insurance Auntie, and I can provide you information to your answers, questions, and anything you need to know about insurance. So let's jump right into it.
Ooh, I love it. I'm excited already, y'all, because the confidence is real, okay? And she can back it up, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So definitely love the energy that we are having right now. Before we get started, let me let y'all know y'all might want to get out your pens and your paper, all right? Because you're going to want to take notes because I know Tracy about to take us all the way to school, okay? Um,
Yes, yes, yes.
so before we jump into it, Tracy, can you please explain the fundamental role of life insurance for business owners specifically and why it's a crucial component of their financial planning?
So when I talk to business owners, I like to cover three main aspects of the business. So one, let's talk about how we're going to protect your business financially. So if something happens to you as a business owner and you're the breadwinner in the family, we need a continuation plan built off that. So that's how we start the conversation. Then we talk about buy sell agreements. So if you have a business partner and something happens to that partner or yourself, what happens to the business? So we like to plan for today, tomorrow, and the future because everybody thinks they're going to live forever, but that's just not the reality. So we like to have plans in place to cover that. Is provide for your family. If you're only business owner and this is your main source of income, how are your family going to survive if something happens to you. So we want to make sure that if you lose a primary source of income, that life insurance can help provide and that financial support that you need to get you through that phase of life. So
That's
why is this? I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why is this a crucial point? Because it helps protect your family, your business, and your employees when you're the sole purpose, the sole primary, the sole everything for as a business owner to your family, your employers, employees, and your community.
And that's crucial because I feel like you said, we all feel like we're going to live forever, right? But we know that that's just not reality. So I know we all don't like to think about planning for what will happen after we're gone, but it's definitely something that's crucial and vital, especially for small business owners, especially if, like you said, you're that breadwinner for the family. So I'm glad that you
Exactly.
walked us through like how you first approach sitting down with a small business owner and understanding like here is every step that we need to cover when we're thinking about making sure you're properly insured. So thank you for sharing that. So what
Right,
are
because everybody's different. So we want to just kind of get the bulk of who you are and then summarize that for you and your family and your business needs.
And that makes sense. I do the same. I have that same approach when I do tax planning because everybody's different, right? Everybody has different
Right.
goals, and everybody is starting in a different space. So you definitely have to approach it on a case by case basis. So that makes sense. Absolutely.
Okay.
So now that you explained to us like the fundamentals of it, can you please tell us any misconceptions or myths that have been around like business owners having life insurance, and how can these misconceptions like impact our financial future?
Say that one more time. It kind of went out a little bit. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. I was asking what are some of the common misconceptions or myths around business owners having life insurance?
That they don't need it.
No way.
That their business is going to support their family and their employees. So we have this conversation on a regular basis like, I'm making this type of money. I don't need it. And for what I'm paying for life insurance, I could just put that money aside. So what I try to tell people, that works great if you already know your checkout date. If you don't know that date, then we need to put something in place because what if that date comes before you have a plan in place in order to support your business and your family or even yourself? Let's just say you have a business and you don't have a family, but you become disabled
Mm,
and you can no longer work. So what you was doing before, if your business was hands-on, if it was physical, you may not be able to do those same things. So we need something in place to help everybody that has a business with life insurance so that we can plan it out properly for you.
wow. So the common misconception is that they don't need it.
Yes.
Interesting. That's funny because I've never had that approach. Like I've never had that mindset, I should say. Even when I remember I got my first life insurance policy when I was 30 years old. Like I wasn't, yeah, like I wasn't ever thinking, oh, I'm gonna live forever, or it's not something that I need. Like I was always thinking about the loved ones that I was gonna leave behind and
Mhm.
wanting to make sure that they were taken care of should something happen to me. So that's interesting.
I found that a lot of people don't have life insurance because nobody's ever talked to them about it. So
Mm,
all the customers that I talk to, I be sure to mention that because I've had insurance since I was 16, 17, 18.
wow.
Nobody has ever asked me about life insurance until I started working for an insurance company. So just
Mm,
think about all those missed opportunities that I could have started early, even if I didn't have a business then, but just being prepared for later on in life. Because again, you don't think young people need that type of policy.
yeah,
But
but you never know. Like you said, no man knows the day or the hour, right? So you never know where you're gonna check out of here. So that's a
right.
valid point. So because we don't know, right? And I understand that life insurance comes in various forms because you got term life, you got whole life, you got universal life. So it's kind of hard to navigate like what's going to be the best fit for me. So can you provide like an overview of those options and how you help business owners understand what's going to be the most suitable option for them?
Yes. So you have term life, whole life, and universal life insurance policies.
Mm-hmm.
So the best way that I break down term life is a temporary policy. You have it for a period of 10, 20, 30 year time frame. And if you die during that time frame, the death benefit is what the policy pays out. That is the most affordable policy. The only thing that goes against that policy is if you don't die within that time frame, there is no benefit after that. You can renew that policy for another period, or you can convert it over to a whole life policy, which is what I recommend to my people because sometimes you need more upfront and less in the later years. So we would start with a term policy if that's what allows it for, and then move into a whole life policy, which is a permanent policy. These policies are more expensive, but they build cash value. You can have them to where they're paid up, and you can get the benefits or the premiums from the policy at a tax-free benefit. So if you know that today I want to have a permanent policy, I want to start building that cash value as soon as possible. I know what my business is, I know what my budget is. Let me just go for this type of policy, and then that's what's going to suit my family best.
Okay.
Now, if the third type of policy is what we call a hybrid policy. So this is a term policy for like the first 20 years, and then it turns into a permanent policy. So for example, you may have a $2 million policy for 20 years during the rough times while you're getting situated, while you're still trying to find yourself, find your business. And then once you get ready for retirement, you may not need that whole 2 million. So you would say, okay, I'll take 2 million upfront, and then on the back end, I want to make sure that I have at least 500,000 going into my retirement, because who wants to pay for life insurance when they're retired? So we can make those plans, determine how you want it now, how you want it then, and then what best fits you, your budget, your family, and your actual goals. And then we kind of break down, okay, think of it this way. Term, think about an apartment. You have an apartment and you can stay in that apartment as long as you want to until that lease is up. When that lease is up, you got a decision to make. Do you want to continue to stay here? If so, this is going to be the new rate. Whole life policy compares to a when you purchase a home. So when you purchase the house, it's yours, right? You get to keep it, you get to live in it. You got a 30-year mortgage, give or take. Once the mortgage is paid for, you own the house. So where are you? Where do you want to be? And
Mm-hmm.
how are we going to do this? How we determine, do you do a term, whole life, or universal policy?
Okay, that makes sense. And thank you for breaking that down. Now you said something, and you know I'm gonna revisit it because you tried to like get over it real quick, but you said tax savings, honey, and my little ears started perking up. So explain to the people exactly how that can be a tax benefit when they choose that policy and make those insurance premiums.
So when you have a whole life policy or a cash value policy,
Mm-hmm.
the tax benefit from that type of policy, depending on the type of policy, because there's still stipulations to everything.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, there are no tax penalties if you have to withdraw money from the policy. So let's say your business is in a crunch, right? You've had this policy for 10, 15 years. Something happens, you need $30,000 in cash. Now you can go visit Uncle Sam. You can go to Bank of America, but they may charge you. They're gonna pull your credit and say where you at. You losing money. We can't help you. Or you can call someone like me, your insurance agent, say, "Hey, don't I got cash value in that policy?" I say, "Yes." How much do you want? You say 30,000 in 2 days. We have a check sent out to you. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Love it. And that, my people, right, is the power of financial planning.
Right, because we've had people who were behind on their bills, didn't know what they was gonna do, and sometimes we have to remind them, be like, "Hey, I know we had this plan for later in retirement, but you do got $50,000 that's just sitting over here. So if you need to take 15, I know that wasn't the original plan, but having something in place gives you options, and that's what it's all about. Like, I'd rather you have it and not need it than need it and not have it."
That's a fair enough rule to live by for sure. And that's all insurance is, right? Like
Right. It's a what if.
it's insuring for those what ifs, definitely. So I love that you mentioned also about like early on you were talking about succession planning, right? So if you don't
Mhm.
mind, can we revisit like what type of role does insurance play when a business owner is considering succession planning? Or, in worst case scenario, the business owner passes.
So, a few tips that business owners can use for succession planning would be make sure you have enough, because if you get that buy sell agreement, to buy
Mm,
the other person out. Because what you
okay.
don't want is to be in business with someone who's married and now they don't want to do anything with the business, but you can't afford to have them
Mm,
give you the business and they can't afford just to give it away. So having a succession plan will allow you to make sure you got enough money for that, have the beneficiary listed on the policy because that can take care of your family in that time of need, and make sure the policy is up to date. So you do annual reviews to check it to make sure, because as you grow your business, your goals change. So that succession plan is going to say, hey, this is where I'm starting, this is where I'm planning on being, and this is what I want my policy to do, and make necessary adjustments as you go through. But the biggest thing is just making sure that it's a smooth transition in the event if anything happens.
that's so good. And I love how you said make sure you had the beneficiaries listed on your policy. It's funny that you have to say that, but I've heard horror stories. And sometimes people forget to update them. Like, what if
All
you
the
are no
time.
longer with that person and you forgot to update it? Oh man, that person just had a Merry
All
Christmas.
right. And then the thing is, like, we've had people who, and just because you pick a beneficiary, don't just pick a name out of a hat. That takes some real planning, thought process, and in-depth conversations, because once they get that money, it's theirs.
Wow.
So there's nothing that you can do or put on a life insurance policy that says, I'm going to leave Samara $500,000, but she has to take 250 and put it back into the business. There's nothing on the life insurance. Now there's some other
Mm.
people that can help you set up some things after that, but life insurance just says pay to the order of Samara Andrews. Then what?
Mm.
What if
Wow.
we had like the week before
It
and
don't
now you
matter.
put it away? Right.
Wow. Yeah. So there's probably some people out there betting on that though. They like,
Exactly. Or what if you didn't change it from an ex spouse and now that spouse is remarried?
mm. Now how does
So,
that work? So they still just pay it out. Like it is what it is.
so if it's whoever the beneficiary is who the policy is going to go to. So
Wow.
if that person has passed and set their stuff up so that they have a beneficiary of their estate and the life insurance goes to their estate,
Oh, wow.
then
That's
you
where it's
say thank
going.
you. Right, because you can't just say, "Oh, that person died," and then that's why you have contingent beneficiaries too, so that if something happens, then you have a backup person. So always have more than one person on your policy that you trust.
And when you are sitting down with the business owners, I'm assuming like you're thinking through all of this with them and talking through all of this with them to make sure, hey, make sure you have a good beneficiary, but also make sure you have some backups or some contingent beneficiaries as well. Like you are making sure that they have that in place.
That's the goal, but that
Okay.
doesn't always happen. So what I like to do is when you're having that first conversation,
Hmm.
sometimes it's just hard for people to fathom because now you're thinking about your mortality. So we start out the conversation, okay, well, just tell me who you think this person should be, because I'm going to call you next year on your anniversary. And if this person seems great today, they may not be great a year from now. So we'll continue to talk about these things because people change, your feelings change, things happen. So you don't have to have it all in place up front,
Hmm.
but you got to have a good idea. And then we try to get you there. Like if anything happened to you, and let's just say you're a business owner, who's going to take care of your business? Do you think they're going to sell it? Have you trained anybody?
Right.
Or is your spouse going to take over? Or do you just want them to be able to take the money and let's just say run?
Right. Right.
But
Right.
so front, and they kind of start thinking about it. Sometimes we have to schedule a later meeting so you can get some more details together. But a beneficiary change is very simple. It's just you filling out a piece of paper. So even if we write the policy with Tina as the beneficiary, you sleep on it, come back 3 days later, say, you know what, I want it to be Mike and Sheila. No problem. We can submit that paperwork and get it changed for you.
Oh, well, at least that's comforting, knowing that if you do want to make a change to your policy, it's a pretty easy process to at least adjust the beneficiaries on the policy. That's comforting. Okay,
For the
cool.
most part, yes.
You said for the most part.
Because you know it's always a catch. Unless you
Right.
got an irrevocable beneficiary, that means both of y'all got to sign off on it. They'd be like,
Oh
no. So
man.
again, these are decisions that you have to
Right.
choose wisely. You just can't say, "Oh, because you have a brother, because you have a sister, or because this is my friend, just put them on there and never take them off," because it puts you in a bind. And I've seen where the person that received the benefits didn't do what they were supposed to do. They just took the money and ran. And I'm just like,
Wow. And it is what it is because you put that person on there. So, wow. And that's unfortunate. I already know, honey, that if I pass, this business is good as shut down. I feel like I don't. Like I do have an accountant, and I've talked, like on a serious note, like I have talked to him about the succession planning, if I can get it out. But my kids have no interest. They have no interest. And the goal is to grow the business. Like everybody has to go, right? To like grow your business to a point where maybe it's something we sell, right? And then they can benefit from that. But yeah, as far as somebody coming in and doing taxes and people's books in my family, they're like, nah, mom, we good. So
good. And the key point to what you said is you've talked to Mike about it before, but the idea is that what we talk about, okay, start training Mike. You know what I'm saying? Like get
mm,
Mike prepared because it's one thing for you to say, yes, Mike is going to take over, but if you only train Mike as an employee, it's a
hmm,
different ball game in that employer hat.
that's
So it's
true.
all about what are we doing, how are we going to do it, and can you do it? It's a skill or will thing. Like he might be great, but I mean, if he run it in the ground, it's just like
Then
I
all my hard work was for naught, for
right, and
nothing.
because we didn't take the time to plan the
Right.
succession of the business up front, and these are the type of things that goes along with having the business life insurance as well.
And that made so much sense. I appreciate you sharing that, and thank you for going in such detail too, about like the importance of really making sure you have a good beneficiary. So,
Mm.
you mentioned earlier, the one tax benefit about taking that money out and it not hit you, right, from a tax perspective, because that is money that you are putting into the policy. Now, are there any other tax advantages or implications that business owners may incur when they're incorporating life insurance into like their planning?
So essentially, for the most part, life insurance is a tax-free benefit.
Okay.
Now, there are some policies that when you have a universal policy, sometimes you can overfund the policy.
Mm.
Sometimes you just put money into it. And when you do that, it's called a modified endowment policy or contract. And
Mhm.
that's when Uncle Sam say 4 and 5, 4 and 5. Because you put too much money into it in such a short period of time that if you take it out prior to a certain age, they're going to
Mhm.
want their cut. But see, having the right insurance agent like Tracy Thompson, we will talk to that before it gets to that point so that you don't run into those type things. So, and then when you start putting it in trust and they can help with the probate and just kind of
Right.
avoiding certain things. But the idea is that generally it's a tax free benefit.
And I'm laughing at your 4 and 5. If y'all didn't get that reference,
4 and 5, come on, let's
right.
go.
Oh my goodness. It's funny that you said it because I do know, like I've covered that before in some of my lives, that the beneficiaries, even the beneficiaries from the life insurance policy, right? They don't have to pay taxes on that because the thought is that that policy was already paid with tax dollars, right? So that's the premise for finance family as to why the beneficiaries get that money and don't have to pay taxes on it because somebody already paid taxes on that money, if that makes sense. So I appreciate you walking us through that. But I didn't know about overfunding a universal. So I feel like that may have to be a whole nother conversation, Tracy, because I don't think
Right,
people are
because
aware.
we try to avoid that and we try to catch it ahead of time and try to cater the policies so they don't do that as much anymore. But that is something that can happen.
And how have you ever seen it happen in your
No.
okay. Okay. Interesting. So again, that's where these periodic reviews help, right? Making sure that everything is where, because you know
And
I was
that's
going.
why it has not happened because we talk about it. We make sure, like,
Mm,
hey, what are your plans? And so I can build a plan up front versus on the back end. If I wake up one day, you done drop 10, 15, $20 million in a policy, but like, wait a minute.
what
We
we
didn't talk
doing?
about it. Right. So, we just need to know. We have the conversation. So I always try to tell my people, call
Mhm.
me first and
Right.
let's talk about it. And then we'll go from there and to figure out what the best man plan of, execution is for you.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I was like, it's always better to ask for permission and forgiveness when you're talking about things like taxes or insurances because it's harder, y'all, for us to undo what y'all did. And sometimes it may not be possible. I
That
mean,
part.
so definitely always reach out to the professional before you make that decision. Even though you think, oh, it'll be okay. No,
Right.
it's going to cost you.
Like, look, if you like it, I love it. But if we can prevent it, let's do that.
Absolutely. Now, I love that you say you do meet with your clients periodically. So, if I'm coming to you as a new policy holder and, we sit down, we talk, we get everything started, when is the next time I can expect to meet with you again? And then thereafter.
So I try to do it on your policy anniversary.
Okay.
So every year around that time, just to kind of, hey, because even if you have a term policy with me, it takes 1 year before you can convert that policy over to a whole life policy.
Mm-hmm.
And things change. I mean, in 1 year you can have a baby. So I
Mm,
try to give you enough time frame to make changes, life changes in between, and then we just talk about it annually going forward. Now, if you choose to talk about it less, we can, but I try to hit you every year because I tell people all the time, like, if you have a baby, if you add a business, add a location, you probably calling everybody to celebrate. But I'm probably the
mm-hmm.
last person that you're thinking about calling. So I call you to try to catch those moments that you forgot to mention when we were talking or we didn't talk at all.
Right. And that makes sense. And then like you said, you tell your people, hey, if something is changing in your life, reach out to me first. Like let me know so that we can make any adjustments to the policy. And I think that's just good business practice. From my perspective too, like you get married, guess what? I need to know, all right? Because that's gonna change how we file for you. Like you gotta let me know these
Right.
things. You have a baby, probably good to tell your tax professional. All right, that's some more money in your
Like
pocket,
all the
possibly.
people you don't think about telling, that's the people you should
Hmm.
be telling. Because, I
Exactly.
mean, Marie may bring you a pack of diapers, but I mean, she can't really give you no tax benefit strategies when you
It,
have little JoJo. So let's talk about
absolutely.
it, people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, good. So thank you for sharing that. So the one other thing that I want to ask, and this may be the last thing because I want to be mindful of your time. So are there any key factors or events that should trigger a business owner to reevaluate their life insurance coverage? And what are some of the steps that they take when they are going to make those changes?
So, key events. So, did your business grow? Is your business downsizing?
Mm-hmm.
Did your business partner change?
Mm-hmm.
Did your budget change? Are your coverages change? Like anything that's major that can affect your business income and livelihood, those are the times when you want to reach out and say, hey, I'm no longer doing this. I added this. What do I need to do to make sure that I'm still covered? Because if you change the plan, then we need to talk about that to make sure that that plan still stays on track. I get that.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay. It's
You're good.
like when it calls, it's like, okay, what happened?
No, you're
So
good.
those are the main benefits, and then just kind of letting us know. But if we're talking annually,
Mm-hmm.
then we'll be talking about these things anyway. Like, do you still have the business? Is it still growing? Did you expand? Did your family expand? Did your needs expand? Does the coverage need to change? Why or why not? And the most thing that usually happens from what I've seen so far is budget. Because sometimes when you start a business, your budget is not as big as it is 5 years from now. So we may have started what I call a starter plan, just something to kind of say, hey, this isn't going to give me everything I need, but it's going to be something. So once you hit that level, okay, now I've made it your success. Then now we need to talk about, okay, how are we going to fund this new business? How are we going to make sure this new level is catered? And since your budget has changed, let's make sure that it still meets the needs and goals that you want it to.
Okay, and that makes sense. So budgets can change, so definitely they need to be reaching out. And I would assume you tell them up front, hey, when you have changes in your business that's going to affect your revenues or the type of money that you are accustomed to bringing in, you need to pick up the phone with me because we may need to review your policy. Yes?
Exactly.
Okay, good.
So just some tips behind that, like lowering your policy. If we have to write a whole new policy, that requires a conversation. That requires like, hey, if we do this, this is what happens. And because sometimes you try to make these decisions without talking to your agent, and it can end up costing you more money. It
Mm,
could end up causing your policy to cancel and you having to start over. So just anytime you get excited about your business because yes, I've hit that goal, yes, I'm where I need to be, then let's just have a conversation about it. Say, I'm doing this now. Do I need to make changes to my policy? I've added 4 people. My family has grown, or I'm no longer married, and I want to downsize my policy. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out what still works for you. If your goals, your benefits, your budget, all of those things. Let's make sure that they all are in line with what we want them to be.
that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. And I love that you have that conversation up front with them so that they know the door is open. Don't be afraid to come and knock on my door because I'd rather you come and ask for permission than forgive me.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, so finally, Tracy, and thank you so much for sharing all of this good tip. But we're gonna wrap it up with this last question. Can you provide some tips and best practices for business owners who are just starting out and they're just starting to explore the role of life insurance and how it protects, their legacy and their family security for the future? So give us some
So the good
tips.
thing is it's the same for a new business as an old business, as a current business. One, what is your budget?
Okay.
Two, what is your end goal?
Hmm.
Three, are you going to have a business partner? And if something happens, how do you want that to end? Is this business going to be providing for your family? So where do you want to start? Because I do what I call a needs analysis and kind of just ask you direct questions about each category that I deem like to think about as important as a business owner. And then we come up with a number for your business. So let's say that number for your business is 5 million. But today, as a new business owner, you can only afford 1 million.
Hmm.
So we start you with the $1 million policy with intentions on growing up to that 5 million because that's still your number. So we still have to get you there. So we just need to know what the budget, what coverages, what the goals are, and your plans for today, tomorrow, and the future. And then we kind of build your plan based off of that.
Yeah, so your best practice and your strategy is, hey, I first just need to have a conversation with you, understand what's going on today and what your expectation is for the future. And then let's backdoor into the best policy that's going to suit all of those needs. That makes sense.
Exactly. And then make a plan to add to it if we can't do it today. Because as a new business owner, you're still trying to figure out how to keep the lights on.
That part.
But when you take that leap of faith and that is now your family's income, if anything happens, they still need to be protected. You still have responsibilities. So we still have to have the conversation about, okay, you may not be where you want to be, but we're going to get you somewhere so that if anything happens, the business is still protected, the family is still protected, and then everybody can move on and go forward from there.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I love that you said it doesn't matter if you knew, if you've been in it for a while, you still take that same approach so that it's a comprehensive approach, right? Like you don't want to make sure you want to make sure you're not missing anything. And that's the same thing. Like I have a long questionnaire, honey. We're gonna ask a lot of questions because I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything because if I miss a question, then you may not get the result that you were looking for.
Exactly.
And it's all about those results at the end of the day.
Right, because I guarantee you, if the business owner dies, that family that's left behind, who do you think they come to look for?
Tracy!
Right. I always say, and this is my theme in life, I'd rather have the conversation with you up front
Mhm.
and then you say yay or nay versus somebody knocking on my door and then I have to say, oh, I never talked to them. Oh, we
Wow.
never talked about it. Because that's a totally different feeling versus,
Right.
you know what, it just wasn't a good time, but
Mhm.
maybe we were going to do it later because it kind of makes the family, the business owner, other people feel better when they know that you at
Mhm.
least put the effort forward.
Right.
Versus if you never say anything, then it's like, well, why didn't they do this?
Right.
No.
Or even more awkward. Oh, where did his policy go? Because I didn't get the money.
I've had that conversation before.
No way, Tracy.
Yeah. I've
Oh.
had somebody call and get and I know the couple.
Mhm.
They weren't married as of yet, so they were
Mhm.
like engaged. So the fiance comes to the office, takes out a life policy for the business, for the
Right.
personal, for everything.
Right.
The beneficiary didn't match the person who I knew. Now, as a professional,
That's not your
I
business. You're in the
so
ministry of minding your business.
right. So when the fiance called and said, "Hey, he told me he came up there and got a life policy," I just want to make sure that I'm the beneficiary. Um,
Mm. Okay.
well, and this is, ma'am, we can only give out the information for the policy to
Right.
the policy owner.
That's
So just
right.
have him come up here with you, and then we can discuss everything in detail. Because
Right.
just because you think it's up, and if you're a beneficiary, just FYI, ask for a copy of the policy. Because I was,
Y'all
and
heard
that's
that?
another one I'm trying to help my clients. And I was like, okay, Samara's your beneficiary. So what's her name and number so I can send her a copy of this so that
Ah,
way, if anything happens, y'all don't have to go tear her house up looking for this documents because I can
right.
already have it to you in your email.
And
So I
that's
try to add that extra benefit to the policy, but honey, if it
no,
ain't who,
that's a good one. And I can't believe that happened. I didn't think that you were gonna say no, that really has happened. But
yeah,
that's very smart that you are proactive in that approach, saying, okay, well, since we have this person listed as the beneficiary, let's go ahead and get them the information that they need. So when and if that time comes, they already have access to the policy. Okay, that's smart. That's very smart and very wise. I'm sure you learned.
yes, because what you're not gonna do,
Tracy, open this door. Give my money. That is
right?
funny. Funny. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. I know that you definitely opened my eyes to some things that I just was not aware of in the insurance game because, again, that's just not my lane. But I know it was definitely helpful, especially for small business owners, like to get them thinking about succession planning and about leaving a legacy right behind, whether it's for their family or a business partner. So hopefully, Five Finance family, you were taking notes. I know that you were engaged in the comment section, so we were very mindful of that, and we answered the questions that you had. And if we didn't get to them, we'll definitely get to them before the end of the show. Okay, so again, thank you so much for being engaged, and thank you so much, Tracy, for coming on and sharing all of this good information with
Yes.
us. So before
Thank
you
you
go,
for
do you?
having me.
Yes, absolutely. So before you go, do you mind sharing with us how we can get in contact with you?
So I am Tracy with the Tracy Thompson Agency. And if you go to Facebook, you can look me up under the Tracy Thompson Agency, the insurance auntie. And pretty much there's my information there. It has my contact, my address, my phone number. So Tracy Thompson Agency, the insurance auntie is how you find me to ask more insurance questions.
Okay, great. So now y'all know. Make sure that you are definitely reaching out to Tracy, especially my small business owners, because I know small business owners sometimes we neglect to do these things because we're so busy putting out other fires, things that we feel like are current. But it is
Mm,
important that we are doing our succession planning and that we are definitely thinking about those who we will leave behind, right? When our time comes. So definitely reach out to Tracy. so that you can connect with her. And she is going to sit down, walk you through the entire process so we have a plan that's going to work for you and all of the goals that you're trying to achieve. So thank you again, Tracy, for being on. If you could say goodbye to everybody, but wait backstage for me while I wrap up the show, that would be great. So thank you.
Well, bye, everybody. It was a pleasure. Feel free to reach out. The insurance auntie. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thanks, Tracy. All right, y'all. So again, another amazing conversation. Thank y'all so much for being so engaging in the comments. Thank y'all for rocking with us the entire time. Again, I wanted to make sure that I brought on these subject matter experts because, again, y'all, I stay in my lane. Okay. All right. I do accounting, I do taxes and planning and advisory in those areas and nothing more. And so, but I wanted to make sure that I brought on experts because when you talk about financial planning, there are definitely other avenues that we need to explore to make sure that we are talking about it from a comprehensive approach. So again, that is why I brought on people like Tracy, and then last week it was Dr. Noni, right? So definitely continue to tune in every week. We will continue to be highlighting, right, financial planning for the rest of the month. Yours truly is going to have a tax planning session, so you definitely don't want to miss that one as well. But again, thank you for tuning in. And if you found this video to be informative and you liked it, please make sure that you are hitting that like button. Also, make sure that you are hitting that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to us already. And also, make sure you are sharing. Share this content with your friends, your business bestie, another entrepreneur, so that they can continue to get this content every week, right? We go live every week, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so make sure you tell a friend. Make sure you're also following us on LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn under Samara Andrews. And last but not least, if you want to connect with me on a personal level, make sure that you visit our website and you can book a call with me, book a discovery call with me. I even have some tax planning calls or a tax strategy call where you get an hour of my time and we come up with a tailored tax strategy for you, right? For whatever tax needs you have. So again, thank you so much for rocking with us this Tuesday evening. I know that it was informative. I know you had a great time. I know I had a great time because it was great conversation and great company. But again, until next time, Five Finance family, happy tax planning, and you all have a blessed and prosperous Tuesday. I'll see y'all next week.